Hi guys, welcome back. Want to drop in for a quick minute to talk to you guys about abandonment and neglect in childhood, and not necessarily a parent abandoning you, like giving you up for adoption or giving you to a grandparent or anything like that, but a parent who's present, who's physically there. But they neglect you or they abandon you where they're not emotionally available and they're physically there, but as far as nourishment or nurturing you, pouring into you, they don't. And what a lot of people don't realize is sometimes a parent who's present messes up a child more than the parent who left. And I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, but I know so many people who had their parent or parents present, but they were still neglected. They were still abandoned because the parent was not emotionally available. Whether it was through substance abuse or mental health issues, or just the parent had to work multiple jobs, whatever the child suffered. And I was a single parent, and I understand that you can't always be there for everything for your children. But when I raised my children, I was self-employed, so I could be there after they got out of school. So I could pick them up from school. So if they had a doctor's appointment, I was able to, fix my schedule that worked best for them. And I know everyone does not have that opportunity, or they can't do that. But at the same time, a lot of times parents are physically there, but emotionally they're not there. Whether they've been through trauma or whatever thing, they're not there, and the child suffers. And this plays out in your life later, where you get into a relationship and you're clingy, and every time the person does something that triggers something from childhood, you're thinking they're going to leave you. You think they don't love you, and this also makes you attract people who are like your parents. You genuinely are, or generally are, attracted to what's familiar to you. And if you've been and lived in a dysfunctional household, generally you are you're drawn to dysfunctional mates. You're drawn to people like your parents. Like if your parent was narcissistic and hate to throw that word around, then you're generally attracted to that because that's what you're used to. And it's the reason a lot of people are attracted to the bad guy or the bad girl versus someone who they can build with, because they're used to a certain thing. And as they get older, they and they start the healing process, they realize what they're familiar with, what they're used to, is not what they need. But by that time, they've been through so much pain in their life that now they don't even trust anyone. So the process is harder, and that abandonment or neglect as a child carries over, and a lot of people don't even realize that it's affecting them. They think their life is normal. It's almost like they search out for chaos. They go to whatever's the craziest thing. And I've had people in my family like this. I've had friends like this. I've dealt with clients like this. And early in my life, I was like this because I was so used to chaos. That's the only thing that I knew. And being used to chaos and not having self-worth, in all honesty, you don't even feel like you deserve a good person. You don't even feel like you deserve, someone who's going to pour into you and love you. And you just take what you think you deserve. And usually those are those people that know that they can use you. Usually that's the people who kind of use you up and throw you away. And then, eventually they leave you or you leave them for whatever reason. And you go to the next person, and it's the same thing. And you end up dating the same person over and over because you're drawn to a certain type. And it's not necessarily a physical type. It's more or less certain personalities. You're used to that person who, was like your father who abandoned you, or you're used to that person who was like your mother who was always berating you, belittling you. And you get into this crazy relationship and you don't know how to get out, and then you finally get out and you go to the next one and the next one, and until you hold yourself accountable and realize that you're the common denominator and dig for what's wrong, that will continue to happen in your life. So you have to realize that those triggers, those that abandonment and that neglect is following you through your adult life. And the only way to fix that is to be single for a while, find out who you are, find your worth, date yourself, love yourself, and really just spend quality time by yourself. Because a lot of times when you've been through this, you cannot continue to date in the healing process, because you have to you have to take some time by yourself to understand what peace is and what you truly want. Because if you try to date someone while you're going through this process and you deal with abandonment and neglect, what's going to happen is you're going to think that you're healed and you're going to fall back into the same pattern, and you're going to be clingy, you're going to be anxious, and it may be a good person. Maybe you have attracted someone different, but because you haven't truly healed, you're going to put those old wounds of what those other people did and what your caregivers did, you're going to put that on that person, and you're going to cut them for something that they didn't do. So it's very important that you take the time to heal. It's very important that you get to know who you are and really get to know yourself. A lot of times when we go through abandonment or neglect as a child, we have no idea who we are. We have been spending all this time being who everyone expects us to be. So we have to actually take the time to figure out who we are. And I don't even look at it as a rebirth. I honestly look at it as being born. Because you spent so much time being who they thought you were, who you thought they thought you should be, that you're truly not yourself. And you have to go through that process of becoming yourself, of being yourself, and figuring out who you are. And that's extremely important when dealing with neglect and abandonment, and really shaking that off and healing from it and dealing with it, so that you can be the person that you want to be with. Because if you want someone who's healthy and who's going to be the right person for you, you have to be healthy. And I'm not saying that you have to be 100% healed, but you do need to be at least 80% healed. Because when you get to that 80% or so, you can start testing yourself in a way to make sure that you are healed. Because there's certain things that you cannot heal until you get with another person, because you don't know what's unhealed unless you are dating. So that way, when you start the dating process, you need to vet that person, but you also need to take your time getting to know that person and not try to jump the gun and get to a place where you were previously with someone else where you were happy. So you definitely need to take your time to vet that person. You need to definitely take your time to get to know that person, so that you're with the type of person that you really truly want to be with and not their representative. Because you deserve so much more, but you have to know that you deserve more. You have to know your worth. I can't tell you what you deserve. I can't tell you your worth. You have to figure that out for yourself. You have to learn that for yourself. And the first thing to do is to just admit that your childhood wasn't the best. If it wasn't, it just wasn't. And it's not a blame game of blaming things on your caregiver. It's really about you being better, you healing, and you being a better person, and you being able to pour into your children, your family, from a healthy point of view.